Hi everybody! Now, I know this is technically my very first actual movie review on my channel. I was originally, I actually filmed a video for Creed 2, but I feel like first I want to review all the other Rocky films that came before Creed 2 before I talk about it. And, I didn't think the video that I actually filmed was all that good. So, yeah, we're going with something else. We're going with Into the Spider-Verse. As you can conveniently see by this thing here. In fact, literally only me and my sister went to see it. Everybody else wanted to go see Bumblebee. In fact, I actually have like the little action figure that I have right there too. So there's also that. So yeah, so Into the Spider-Verse. So this is probably it's probably the best Spider-Man movie I've ever seen. Now don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the first two Raimi films. I enjoyed Homecoming. When you really get down to it, I actually think Homecoming is probably the best live-action Spider-Man, in my own opinion. Everybody else can think, oh, but the Raimi films were so much better. And there's always those people, it's like, actually, I thought the Mark Webb films were better. But, yeah, I legitimately thought about that about Homecoming. So, I was very intrigued when they said that they were going to make an animated Spider-Man movie about Miles Morales. Then the trailer came out, and it said, in the official title was, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I'm like, how are they going to be able to adaptate this into like a family film, a family animated movie? Let alone for movie going audiences. How are the comic book guys think about it? Well, I saw it and I thought it was great. I think it's probably the best Spider-Man movie that I've ever seen. But yeah, it's pretty bizarre because, if you go on Rotten Tomatoes right now, it currently has a score of 97%, which is nuts. And the audience score is also at 95, which is really weird because how would regular audience members react to something like this? But hey, what can you do? So yeah, plot. This is supposed to be the origin story of Miles Morales, about how he first, became Spider-Man. While he's doing that, we also get the Spider-Verse subplot, in which he teams up with Spider-Man from another reality, Spider-Gwen, Spider-Man Noir, Penny Parker, and Spider-Ham. Now, this sticks very, very close to Miles' origin story. He got into a school because he won a raffle or whatever, and he won with number 42. He has a roommate, and his name is Genki, even though he doesn't say his name, it's Genki. He became Spider-Man because his universe's version of Peter died. Yeah, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. He dies. Spoilers, I guess. But yeah, what's really interesting about that version of Spider-Man is the fact about how they're able to have a combination of all the different other Spider-Men. And as you've seen from like a TV spot that they had him dancing like Tobey Maguire was in Spider-Man 3, and he said, yeah, we really don't talk about all that. We really don't talk about that. Which I agree. And what's very interesting about that version of Peter was that he was voiced by Chris Pine. Yup. Kirk himself. This guy pretty much has his hands on everything. He's at Star Trek, DC, with, Wonder Woman, he played Steve Trevor, and now Marvel too. So yeah. Eventually, we get to see the other Eventually, Miles interacts with the other universe version of Peter, Peter B. Parker. He's been doing it for an additional 10 years, and he's intended to be an older version of the Tobey Maguire version of Spider-Man as well. And along the way, they're basically, trying to stop the Collider from destroying the multiverse, essentially. So there's... It may sound really, really dumb, but when you actually see it play out, it works. It really, really works. So, I think the better question is, should you see this in the theater, or should you wait for it to come out on home video? Go see it in the theater. It's amazing. Probably the big highlight for everybody is the animation. It's beautiful. It literally looks like an actual moving comic book with thought bubbles and sound effects. Like, there's a clip out there in which, Spider-Man and, Peter and Miles are swinging, and then when they actually do this, you actually see the thwip sound effect, like that. And also at the very beginning of the movie, there's this little thing that says, approved by the Comics Code Authority. I love that little Easter egg. That was actually really, really cool. Now, what are some other really good things about this movie besides the animation? The characters. The characters are amazing. Miles is cool. Miles is great. Peter's great. Gwen is great. And even the Spider-Man that we really don't see all that much, like Spider-Man Noir, Penny Parker, and Spider-Man, they were all great. I thought they were really, really funny. I loved Spider-Man Noir, Nicolas Cage is just great, cause he's Nicolas Cage. And he's also a really big comic book guy too. Like, earlier this year he was in the Teen Titans Go movie as Superman, so there's a little fun fact for you. Yeah. So, what else is there? Well, for one thing, I really like the humor. It's hilarious. Probably one of the funniest things about the movies when each of the Spider-Men are explaining their backstory or the story's playing out, and you actually see like a comic book appear, like this is actually like you're reading it. It's great. Like Chris Pine's Spider-Man narrates for the opening of the film, and it has like a little comic book there. After Miles gets bit with the spider and discovers he has powers, it's like then another comic book appears on it. It's called The Two Spider-Men. And then eventually we get to see the backstories of the Peter from another reality. We get to see the origins of Spider-Gwen and the 3 other Spider people. So that's cool. And it's the way that they each tell their backstories. It's hilarious. I'm particularly fond of Spider-Man Noir because there's a scene in which he's interacting with the Rubik's Cube and he's taking it with him back to his own reality, and it's like, I don't know what this is, but I'm pretty sure I'll understand it. I think that's great. It's just, I also really like the different animation that everybody has. Like, Spider-Man Noir, he's in black and white. Penny looks like she's from an actual anime. And Spider-Ham actually looks like he's from like a Looney Tunes cartoon or whatever. And another really interesting detail is that whenever you see Penny talk, her mouth is sort of off with the actual voice, like it was dubbed. If you've ever seen an anime dubbed, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, yeah. What else did I like? It's, I gotta bring this up again. The animation and the visuals are just breathtaking. Like, oh my gosh, this is great. And I'm also really particularly fond of the Stan Lee cameo in here, too. Stan's cameo, Stan actually filmed a couple cameos, before he died. He was in Wreck-It Ralph 2. He filmed one for Endgame, and he filmed it, and of course he filmed a cameo for this. I think this might actually be the best Stan Lee cameo of all time, because, Miles is going to a costume shop to purchase a Spider-Man costume because, his universe's version of Peter died. And Stan's like, oh, I actually used to know him. We were actually friends. I'm going to miss him. And then Miles says, is it okay if I could be able to return this if it doesn't fit? And Stan's like, it always fits. Eventually. Which, that's actually really touching. But, the camera very cleverly goes to the left and you see a sign that says, no refunds or returns ever. And I'm like, that pretty much sums up Stan Lee in a nutshell. Because a lot of people like to see him as this hopeful, inspirational guy who, he liked to inspire people. But a lot of people kind of thought he was a bit greedy too, so there's that. This is from what I'm remembering exactly, because, I've seen so many people talk about this movie already. So I kind of feel like it's really hard to add something when people have already talked about it. It's like Star Wars. In fact, I actually have the VHS tapes of the original trilogy right there, before they got ruined. It's really hard to talk about something when a lot of people have already talked about it, so the only thing that you can really add to it is your own personal experience to that, but whatever. So, that's all the things that I liked. Was there anything that I didn't like? Well, I thought the villains were a bit basic. Although I did understand Kingpin's motivation, in his universe, his wife and kid died in a car accident because they saw him beating up Spider-Man, so they decided to leave. And he's trying to open up an alternate reality to do so. By the way, the Miles' version, Chris Pine Spider-Man, he brings that up to Kingpin, and then you just see this wide shot of him raising his fist and then smashing them into the ground. Like, his ribcage is just, like, imploded now. There's no way he's gonna recover from that. By the way, love how they actually took risks by actually killing off Spider-Man in the beginning of the movie. How many kids films can you say in which the main character dies in the opening? Aside from a lot of Disney movies, but that's besides the point. But I really didn't think the villains were kind of developed enough. We're fine for what we got, but that's not what the focus is on. The main focus is on Miles' story, and I thought it was great. I really, really want to see a sequel to this, and they're making a sequel and a spinoff with they're making a spinoff with Spider-Gwen, Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew, and Silk. Don't know who those people are. go look it up on Wikipedia or a Marvel wiki page or whatever, because you'll understand. And from what I've been told, for one of the original screenplays for Into the Spider-Verse had, Miles and Gwen sort of having a romantic interest to one another, and the sequel will probably build on the friendship between Miles and Gwen. And I'm pretty sure one of the producers, said that the sequel will actually take elements from the Sitting in a Tree crossover between Spider-Man and Spider-Gwen, in which, they, for like a brief while, they did date, so there's that. But I don't know. I really liked it. I really, really want to see it again. I thought it was amazing. Yeah, there's that. And I think I might actually know what I want to go as for Halloween next year. I want to cosplay as Miles, I guess. And I'm really, really intrigued what they're going to do if they actually do make a sequel. Because this thing had a budget of $90 million. It had over 140 animators working on it. But Phil Lord was definitely one of the main guys responsible for this. He wrote the script and came up with the story. And I guess you wonder who he is. He's one of the guys that came up. He was one of the guys who made the Lego movie, essentially. So, yeah, Phil Lord, that's just great. Yeah, so, overall thoughts? I thought Into the Spider-Verse was a great movie. Regardless if you have kids or not, go see the movie, okay? Just go see it, okay? It's just an amazing movie. I highly recommend it. Give it a 9 out of 10. I don't give it 10 out of 10. It's not perfect because, for some parts of the animation, they want to direct you focus on the middle of on the middle of what's going on, and they'll just intentionally blur the background, so that's a little bit annoying sometimes. And of course, the villain I thought wasn't really all that strong. I think they probably could have developed him a little bit more, but hey, if you don't like that version of Kingpin, you can always just watch him on Netflix Daredevil. They got him right there. For one, I remember, because, I've only seen the first 2 seasons of Daredevil. P.S. I'm really upset the fact that they only canceled after the 3rd season. They had so many more ideas, but nope, they just canceled because poor ratings. So, yeah. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Great, great movie. I think it's the best Spider-Man movie of all time. I think it's probably one of the greatest superhero movies of all time. Probably in the top 10. So, yeah. Great, great movie. So, until next time, stay gold.